All right. Okay. All right, cool. Good. We're ready to go. All right. Attention, chiropractors, slayers of subluxation, unleashers of the imprisoned impulse. I'm Dr. Anthony Pellegrino from Chiro Edge, and welcome to this week's special edition of the Chiropractic Research Breakdown, where each week we break down the science and philosophy necessary to empower your community, to empower you to change the health of your community from the inside out. Now, this is a special edition because we are actually broadcasting live. It's Friday night at the Amped Now conference in beautiful Buckhead, Atlanta, and we are so pumped to be doing so. So, welcome. I'm really looking forward to getting into this, and we are going to go ahead. We got 3 different articles to go through with you guys today that we're super excited about. Before we do that, if you guys are at the conference, we're really excited to see you. We are going to have a booth on Saturday and Sunday, so come by and say hey. The information that we talk about, as you guys know, if you've listened to this podcast before, you know that we make this in social media as well as patient newsletter format, branded to your practice to allow you to stimulate referrals, get your practice members asking the right questions. You guys know probably that we typically offer a 2-week free trial at chiroedgemedia.com. And if you wanted to, we're on the fence about taking advantage of that through this Sunday. That's going to be the 27th. We are going to have an Amped conference special where you get 50% off your first 3 months. So that's the best special we've ever run. And you can do that by going to chiroedgemedia.com/amped. If you're hearing this late, I'm sorry. So that's chiroedgemedia.com/amped. And that's going to be hosted till Sunday through Sunday the 27th. So jumping right into it, our 3 articles today. One, we're going to be going over specifically on chiropractic research from Palmer Davenport. We're just going to be going over 2 that are about basic physiology. And I'm really excited about those. One is just about the effect of the autonomic nervous system on proliferation of stem cells, which is a hot topic. And the other is on the autonomic nervous system and endocrine stress responses. So research at Palmer Davenport published is called Effects of Chiropractic Manipulative Therapy on Reaction Time in Special Operations Forces Military Personnel, a randomized control trial. So, if you guys know anything about the direction that Palmer's been going in, you bet your butt adjustment's not going to be used in this paper. And you bet your butt that the word subluxation is not going to be used either. But hey, let's just go with it. We'll roll with it. Right now we're losing this battle, but we'll just kind of go with it. So they say spinal manipulation is the primary treatment delivered by doctors of chiropractic, and it's thought to have a therapeutic benefit through several complex neurobiological mechanisms involving both the spinal and cortical regions of the central nervous system. Research indicates that spinal manipulation can cause plastic changes in sensory motor integration within the central nervous system in human participants, particularly with the prefrontal cortex. They say spinal manipulation appears to alter the net excitability of the row of low threshold motor units, increases cortical drive, and prevents fatigue. This randomized control trial was conducted to answer the question, does chiropractic manipulative therapy lead to improved reaction and response time in combat-ready Special Operations Forces personnel reporting little to no pain? So this is different from a lot of studies that we'll typically see in this area because they'll look for seeing this type of functional result, and they'll look specifically for people who have a symptomatic impairment. They'll look at something like, hey, this person with low back pain, this person with functional issues, how does their response time change? And that's what we see. What they're measuring here is they're like, no, let's throw that out. We want to see the best of the very best, the most fit, the healthiest among us. No pain, special operations, special forces personnel. How can we improve their reaction time, their response time? So being that we're looking at people who are essentially at the top of their game, literally, I mean, any statistic and significant improvement is going to be great, is going to be a good thing. I mean, seeing anything at all, because theoretically, they're going to be at the top of their game. They're the most elite out there. So they spinally manipulated people, I'll call it that, and they tested simple reaction time of the dominant hand, of the dominant foot. They tested something called choice reaction time. They tested response time and whole body response. Something that I do like about this study that's compared with other studies we've looked at in the past that use the term spinal manipulation is that they actually didn't specify like what levels they were going to just manipulate. So a couple of weeks ago, we talked about an article from, I think it was National, where all they did was they just manipulated the atlas on the left and the right, and they just had zero analysis to know if that was actually something that was needed, right? We see papers all the time that look at improvements of shoulder range of motion, and they're like, well, that we manipulated T4 because T4 affects the shoulder. And that's, I hate that. It's stupid because that's not what chiropractic is, right? That's physical therapy. That's not chiropractic. So anyway, so what they said about how they did this is they said that we're not manipulating these specific levels. They said, the specific treatment given at each visit was determined individually by information obtained from clinical evaluation, which included standard orthopedic tests, range of motion assessments, and spinal palpatory examination. So it's maybe not even the exam that you would do, but I mean, at least, hey, they're doing something, which is good. So they put 60 special ops agents into the experimental group. They put 60 into the control group. What they found was that, I mean, obviously, remember, these guys are at the top of their game. So majority of the reaction time things, they saw, hey, an improvement, but it wasn't statistically significant. They did see statistically significant whole body response time, which is amazing. I mean, one of the 5 categories, they saw statistical significant improvement, which is great considering that these guys theoretically were like, hey, what else can we do to get better? Like, we are at the top of our game, right? If we take out by itself the fact that chiropractic affects the function of the autonomic system, which is going to affect our ability to handle and adapt to stress, right? The change in any sort of reaction time, I mean, for these guys can mean the difference between life and death, right? And this is just looking at a testing environment. We know that we're going to see changes in the ability to handle and adapt to stress because of the function of the autonomic nervous system. So not only are they physically just reacting faster in a non-stressful environment, they're going to be better able to adapt to and handle stress. So this is just going to be a game changer. We're looking at it and saying, hey, you know what the military really needs to? We've looked at, a while ago, we looked at and talked about an article for vets and seeing how the VA is even showing that individuals under chiropractic care are taking less opiates, and that's great, and we know that. And we know that even in the treatment of symptoms, how important it is. But this research is even saying, even if you are the most elite athlete out there, there is still room for improvement simply by getting adjusted. Well, or your spine manipulated, which I want to say simply by getting evaluated for subluxation and getting adjusted for no reason other than reducing and removing the interference in the nervous system to allow your brain, your body to communicate, to adapt better. So that's cool. If you guys have anybody who's an elite athlete, a veteran, active duty, make sure you're talking about this stuff. You got original research from the journal Physiological Reports for number 2. It's called Evidence for a Direct Effect of the Autonomic Nervous System on intestinal epithelial stem cell proliferation. Now, if you guys subscribe to On Purpose with Christopher Kent and Pat Gentempo, they also go ahead and dive into information on this article. They do a great job with that. They go pretty in depth. I'm going to give you guys my take on this because I'm just a big fan of this research as well. It's not a chiropractic article. It's a normal physiology article. So this is like PhDs and MDs who are using so much of our language when they're talking about how the body functions. We don't need to view them as the enemy. We need to view them as the same person and say, hey, we believe what you believe. We just believe, right? We know that the nervous system is responsible for the controlling and coordinating the function of every system in the entire body. You guys just think that maybe taking drugs is the answer, and we think that maybe just simply improving the nervous system is the answer, right? So we can agree to disagree. So I like talking about this as well because stem cells is a big thing in chiropractic. Not really chiropractic, but, PT chiropractic, because people are always trying to get you to sell crap in your practice. But here's what I got to say to you about stem cells. So they go into in the article really intense like gene expression mechanisms, and I really don't want to get too much into that. So we're just going to kind of start with a 10,000 view on this stuff. So they say that the purpose of the article is to evaluate the existence of a molecular framework for a direct effect of the autonomic neurotransmitter receptors in the tissue. Okay. I've misread there. I apologize. To evaluate the existence of a molecular framework for a direct effect of the sympathetic nervous system or parasympathetic nervous system on the intestinal epithelial renewal, we measured gene expression for the main autonomic neurotransmitter receptors in the tissue. Sorry, I skipped the line. We separately evaluated intestinal epithelial regions comprised of the stem, the progenitor, and mature cells, which allowed us to investigate the distinct contributions of each cell population to this proposed autonomic effect. So while that may sound a little bit techy or a little bit sciencey, here's what's important. If you say in your practice that the nervous system affects every cell in your body, that a subluxation is going to affect your body's ability to create new cells. I was listening to a Sigafus audio the other day, and he's talking about how in the presence of subluxation, our body literally is not going to create as viable cells. Literally, our body's going to be in the presence of subluxation because the brain controls and coordinates the function of everything in the entire body. If we're subluxated, our body is not going to be able to take and make as good quality cells as if we are unsubluxated. And that's something, it's a really good thing to say. It's an easy thing to say from the pulpit. But what this article is really doing, if you don't think this is important or if you're skipping through that, this is literally testing that statement, right? This is testing the statement to say that innate intelligence can create a stronger you. Like, this is what we are testing. And these are MDs and PhDs. These aren't chiropractors. They're testing what we believe. Here's their results. They said that the study determined that the sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system autonomic neurotransmitter receptors are expressed in the villus, in the crypt, and in the stem cells of the intestinal epithelium. Notably, neurotransmitters, excuse me. Sorry. They said notably, where the heck did that just go? Sorry, I'm all over the place today. Notably, 3 neurotransmitters, specifically ADRA2A, CHRM1, and CHRM3, were expressed in both populations of proliferating cells, the stem cells, and the transmit amplifying cells. In addition, we found that application of norepinephrine or acetylcholine decreased the expression of cyclin D1 in intestinal epithelial organoids. So what does this mean? Together, these findings suggest that both the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system may be capable of directly influencing intestinal epithelial cell proliferation by a direct modulation of the stem cells. They say that the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system nerves come in close contact with the intestinal epithelium, which supports the idea of a direct autonomic effect on intestinal epithelial cell proliferation and tissue renewal. Our results support the narrative that the intestinal epithelium is among the tissues with which regeneration is under direct sympathetic and parasympathetic control. So they explore what happens when the nervous system is not properly adapting to sympathetic and there's a parasympathetic or sympathetic imbalance. When sympathetic tone is high, the sympathetic nervous system coordinates an overall decrease in energy and resources to the intestines, which may subsequently limit the energy available for cell proliferation. In contrast, parasympathetic tone is increased during digestion, which is accompanied by increased cellular metabolism, subsequent reactive oxygen species byproducts. Because reactive oxygen species byproducts induces DNA damage that can cause DNA synthesis errors, this may not be an ideal environment for cell proliferation. So what they're saying is that when we have extremely high sympathetic nervous system activity or extremely high parasympathetic nervous system activity, which we know and have measured through HRV, through tons of research, that that subluxation actually can contribute to that imbalance, which stops us from properly being adapted to physical, chemical, emotional trauma, right? The definition of what causes a subluxation: traumas, toxins, and thoughts, right? When we're in that state, what's going to happen is that these stem cells are going to be affected. Now, this is actually something that's really, really, really interesting. And this is like chiropractic philosophy, I believe, extremely importantly, like in a nutshell, boiled down. What they're saying is that in the existence of this extreme sympathetic or parasympathetic dominance, that proliferation of stem cells is going to be, or stem cells are going to stop the cellular process, right, stop us from producing more cells, because the body knows that the cells that are going to be produced in these times, right, the cells that are going to be produced in these times are not going to be of the highest quality, can actually harm the body over time. So if we know that this happens in subluxation, right, this is innate intelligence saying, I know that what I'm going to create right now, even though I need to create these things to survive, I know that the cells that I'm going to create are not going to be what my body needs. So because of that, I'm going to slow that down. That's just beautiful. I mean, like, we can look at the symptom, which is to say, yeah, it's super easy to see these digestive issues that would come with this, right? Like, the cells are not functioning properly. So this can relate to, and I'm sure because of the way that the nervous system controls the actual regeneration of the intestinal lining, right, that this can result in things over time if sustained long enough, like diverticulitis, like IBS, like many of those symptoms that we as chiropractors know can change. But still, guys, is it there for a reason? Are those things, these symptoms, happening for a reason? And are those symptoms in the long run actually a good thing? Because I would much rather have IBS than diseased and cancerous cells, right? The body, innate intelligence is working here. It's working. It's our job to allow their body to be better able to adapt to physical, chemical, emotional trauma, to allow the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems to be in balance, not dominant. They say that by decreasing cyclin D1 expression, which is what we just found happens when there is this imbalance in the two parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems, that the autonomic nervous system may be restricting progression of the cell cycle during physiological stress that are unfavorable for proliferation. I've never seen any MD or PhD put, like, honestly, chiropractic philosophy in like a scientific form more beautifully. And that just gets me so excited. You may agree with me. You may not. Quite honestly, I don't really care too much, but that's good. That's that. They close with, our current results provide a foundation for in-depth neuronal control of stem cells in the intestinal epithelium and can be expanded to investigate stem cells from other tissues throughout the body. Woo! That got me fired up. So from the publication Psychoneuroendocrinology, it kind of sounds a lot like what Candace Pert talks about in the book Molecules of Emotion. She actually, I think, coined a term. I think it was not psychoneuroendocrinology, but psychoneuroimmunology, and she actually came under a lot of fire for using that term, because people thought there's no connection between the mind and the body. There's no connection between the mind, the nervous system, and the immune system. That's crazy. Yet here we are, publishing on this. This research was performed at the Department of Psychiatry and Psychotherapy at University Medical Center at Eppendorf in Hamburg, Germany. They say vagal effects of endocrine HPA axis challenges on resting autonomic activity was assessed by heart rate variability measures in healthy humans. So the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, or HPA axis, and the autonomic nervous system are considered to play the most crucial role in the pathophysiology of stress responsiveness and are increasingly being studied together. However, only few studies have simultaneously assessed the HPA axis and autonomic nervous system activity to investigate their direct interaction in pathophysiology, while no study so far has assessed the dynamic interplay between the two systems in healthy subjects through endocrine challenges. They say that stress is defined as the state of threatened homeodynamic balance, or hemodynamic balance, which is a non-equilibrium state as opposed to homeostasis. Excessive stress exposure may oversensitize neuroendocrine responses to stress, leading to an altered dynamic state associated with decreased adaptability and profound effects on physiological development, leading to chronic physical and mental morbidity. Guys, are they describing the effects of subluxation here or what? The human stress systems include central and peripheral components. The highly interconnected central components of the stress system are mainly located in the hypothalamus and the brainstem, but are driven by inputs mainly from the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala. Now, although I've said things about Dr. Heidi Havoc's research and using the term spinal manipulation, while I disagree on that, she does have research that shows that we as chiropractors influence the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala, which is great, right? Which is great. The peripheral components include the HPA axis and limbs of the autonomic nervous system. The HPA axis and the ANS are considered to play the most crucial role in stress-related maladaptive consequences relating to pathophysiology. Guys, they're describing subluxation here. This is crazy. They are describing why your practice members, when they're subluxated, get sick more often, and when they start getting adjusted, they get sick less often. They're describing how, because of the way that the nervous system affects the stress response, and is largely responsible for the stress response and the associated endocrine response, why practice members who are well adjusted are better able to adapt to stress than those who are subluxated. They found that decreased vagal tone, which we know happens in the presence of subluxation, causes improper responses from the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. They found that the more that they give these drugs to people to cause stress, which is what they were studying, the more all this crap went haywire. They say our study supports a vital role of the parasympathetic nervous system in the interplay between the autonomic nervous system and the HPA axis, as well as the modulation of stress-related cardiovascular responsiveness. Parasympathetic activity may thus particularly affect susceptibility to stress-related disorders and represent an important pathway towards the high cardiac mortality seen in these disorders. In addition, our results underline the utility of HRV as a potential biomarker for the stress system sensitivity and vulnerability of stress-related disorders. I'm so excited. I know that was a mouthful, but these are non-chiropractors describing the things that we know are affected by subluxation and talking about how it affects the entirety of the body, talking about how it affects our ability to adapt to physical, chemical, emotional stress, talking about how subluxation causes chronic stress and inability to adapt. It shows every little thing that you've seen in your office. This relates to what we were talking earlier with stem cells, right? This relates to reaction time. This relates to every little thing. In the presence of subluxation, your practice members are not living the life that they are designed. They are going to be chronically unable to adapt to stress. And let's be real, there's more physical, chemical, and emotional stress that they have to encounter now than they did 100 years ago. We're in front of a phone and we're constantly bombarded with information. We then go text all the time, causing changes to the cervical curve. We play sports that are more active, getting hit harder with higher intensity at earlier ages, where birth is just completely shot, where we don't respect the normal birthing process whatsoever. We come into this world and we wonder why 90% of the people who walk through your doors have either medically or self-diagnosed anxiety. Adjust them. Don't give them Juice Plus. Don't give them don't worry. It's not the first thing to do. Don't worry about injecting stem cells into their knees, right? We know we can affect stem cells. Get them freaking adjusted. Find their atlas. It's the thing next to the brainstem. Measure it, measure imbalances, correct them, make sure it holds, and allow them to live a better life. Adjust their sacrum, adjust their coccyx, whatever you do, evaluate for the presence of subluxation and correct it. And your only job is to keep it there. You can do other things if you want. I think you're wasting your time because there's more people to get adjusted. But your only job is to keep it there and to keep them clear and to keep them adapting so they can go out and live the life that they're deserved. I'm Dr. Anthony Pellegrino from ChiroEdge. This has been another episode of the Chiropractic Research Breakdown. You guys have till Sunday the 27th to get 50% off your first 3 months. ChiroEdgeMedia.com/amped. Otherwise, we'll have a free trial for you at ChiroEdgeMedia.com. I hope to see you guys all at the conference this weekend, and I will catch you all next week. Keep slaying those subluxations, and I love you.